Excited to do, this is only the second Super Saturday that that I've done. So I'm really excited to be doing the Super Saturday, and I really designed all of this around the need for attorneys and the fact that everyone needs to have an attorney, just like they have health care, just like you have insurance for your vehicle. And that's really what I want to talk to everyone today, is about why you need legal. And I want to start off, and I talked to my group school about this, and I don't know what other Super Saturdays you've been to, but I'm just diving in. I'm all about business, and I just really want to cover this whole mindset of why people need to have an attorney on retainer as part of their life. And just so you know, before Harlan Stonecipher and our business model, no one could have what you all have today with our legal plan. So this is, and by the way, there is no recording. And I found out that people in Wisconsin don't listen. So I just want to make sure that y'all understand, at these events, corporate says there is no recording. So don't sneak it or any of that, or, you know, my attorney's sitting here on the front row. And while when he calls and I sue you, or the company does, it's going to go out to 2 separate attorneys, you're still going to have H to pay. So, okay, I just want to go over that. And I've been in the business for 15 years, for almost 15 years. In May, next year or so, it's really 14. And this is what it's all about. Harlan Stonecipher taught me, and this is what Harlan said. And y'all need to get his book. This is $6. I said this on the call. This is what it's all about, y'all. Is Mr. Stonecipher's mission to provide affordable legal protection for everyone. This is what we do. And it is so important that everyone have that access. Remember, when I started with the briefing, what I said was, you're almost 3 times more likely to be in court. That could be a speeding ticket. It could be, God forbid, you're in an accident and someone's killed. You get sued. You know, I told you in Missouri and Illinois, it's only $40 to sue somebody. How much is it in Missouri? You know, to file in Wisconsin, to file a case. $80. So it's less than $100 to sue someone, and so that's what the need is in order to have access to an attorney. So Mr. Stonecipher's whole concept was equal access, equal justice, but it's why legal. So you can follow me on Twitter. I post articles, and the things that I say, like 90% of the phone calls into the law firm, you don't pay any additional. In Wisconsin, it's 95. Andrew told me. I post those kind of things every once in a while. I do this for my organization, but I do it for everyone, because maybe it'll help you during the week. It'll make you think of something. So you're going to want to go to twitter.com/, and this is not .com. I apologize. Forget this. It stops here. So, and it'll ask you to set up your own Twitter account, and then you can also have a text sent to you on your cell phone when I post something, so it tells you that that's happened. Okay? This is really important, because one of my goals, and we need to talk about this at the end, is I think we need to chart whether this membership, this advanced product training on the membership, will help to increase the volume of membership sales in the state of Wisconsin. And we ought to be charting it. I mean, I want you all to leave here with a mindset that you're going to sell more memberships. You know, if your kids play soccer or they play sports, that you're talking to the coaches or other family members, or you're listening carefully to what's being said, you know, figuring out a way professionally to find out whether one of the parents, whether they have a will. I'm telling you, 70 to 80% of all Americans don't have a will. But really today, getting back to all of this, I want to talk about the need for attorneys. And so I really want to start, and I'm really appreciate the fact that Andrew's here to talk to everyone. And we're going to talk about, and he's going to talk about T1, which is Title I, which is preventative, and some traffic-related stories. And I really want you to write these down. You know, even if you've heard them before, you need to write them down. Because from my point of view, the membership today, you're starting, this is the first day of the rest of your life in Legal Shield. And with a different mindset, but you gotta write this stuff down. You are not gonna remember it if you don't write it down. That's why I never hand out my PowerPoints. I make people write it down. Because if you write it down, you're gonna remember it, you've got something to go back to and check. So, without any further ado, Andrew Nelson, who is, this is your product. This is your, this is your product. He is who we sell, okay? And I appreciate you being here, and and there may be some time for questions and answers afterwards, as long as we keep them focused on what the topic is, the membership, or what we're here for today. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Alan. I think that there was some sort of mind meld here, because Alan and I are of the same mind. I was actually disappointed when corporate got rid of APTs. Freed up on Saturdays a little bit, but my opinion, and I've been doing this since 2007, so you guys do math, 6 years, 6.5 years now. I've seen everything from, you know, your normal intake to complaints that make it all the way to corporate, to Rick Mason's desk. So I've seen everything. And based upon that experience, for what I can tell, is the more you guys know about product, the more you guys know how it works, how it doesn't work, the more successful you guys are going to be in the long run. It's going to increase your retention, it's going to increase your sales, and it's going to increase everyone's happiness. So, off my soapbox for a minute, but I was glad you brought that up, because I used to do all the APTs in Minnesota, Kevin and Steve Baker, and you know, I think that these are real, Joe was talking about training too. As much as you guys can learn about it, the better. I'm going to start out with numbers, and since I transpose numbers, which is why my career as a bank teller at Brewery Credit Union in Milwaukee was short-lived. I transpose numbers terribly. Also a reason why I didn't go to medical school and why I ended up being an attorney. The number of intakes we had in, this would be, I think these are August numbers are my latest ones, 4,863 intakes between 3 states, Minnesota, Wisconsin, North Dakota. That's as short as I could break it down. I can tell you probably about 30 of those in North Dakota. I can tell you probably about 40% of those were Wisconsin. Good rough numbers there. And the remaining 68% was Minnesota. Alan spoke to a number about 95%. I just busted out my calculator when I was sitting outside earlier. I lied, it was 94.7% get resolved without a retainer. And that just means that we made a referral to an attorney to handle something. It doesn't necessarily mean that the member decided to retain that attorney. You know, sometimes I say, hey, there's a couple options here. You can do it yourself, or you can retain an attorney. Up to you. And sometimes they say, you know what, I want to get a referral. I want to see, you know, what they would have me do, what they would do for me, and how much it would cost. And sometimes they don't end up retaining that attorney. Sometimes they call back and say, you know what, I'd rather try it myself first. That 94.7% number is probably a little low in terms of what we resolve via document reviews, via telephone consultations, via letters. Now I have to pull out my phone because I have success stories and I can't remember all of them. And Alan really wanted me to touch on, not so much money, because I give those ones are easy. I can say, you know, a member was being sued, I wrote a nasty letter to the opposing counsel, and the case was dismissed. You know, that happens, those are easy. It's easy to quantify money, you know, numbers, which I suck at, but it's easy to quantify. There are things that we do that transcend dollars and cents. And as a part of, you know, most attorneys don't really think about that, you know, unless they're working for legal aid or something like that. Most attorneys are focused on pushing money from one file to another, from one pocket to another pocket, and they don't really, I'm not despair, but they don't really care about the emotional impact on the people that they're, I guess, playing puppet master with. And that's the real difference between what I can do through Legal Shield and what most attorneys have to do in terms of fighting amongst each other. And I'll give you an example. I have a non-Legal Shield client way up in the northwest part of Minnesota that fired, they screwed up. They fired a lady because she was pregnant. That was the reason. It was stupid. The dumbest thing I ever heard. I asked myself when I got the phone call, I said, what do you, who is this? You know, that's something I would have thought of in 1950, you know. And I'm going to bring up another point before I forget it. If they had called me before they fired her, you know, they would have saved themselves tens of thousands of dollars. I got out of it cheap for them. You know, they spent less than $1,000 on me because I found a loophole in their insurance plan where their insurance is actually not covering it for them. But they still have a $5,000 deductible. And they still have, you know, potential exposure over and above their insurance limits, depending on how this case goes. So, preventative. If this plan could be sold only on a preventative basis, completely worth the money. Completely worth the money. Everything else, in my opinion, crazy. But I was talking about Central, and I was talking about, Steve, what was I talking about? Yeah.
About your testimonials, the one up north, that was a non-legal shield plan?
Values versus money and
Money.
results.
Thank you, Susan. Here's the attorney. I feel like Father Brian Holbus in religion class. He used to call on me because he thought I wasn't paying attention. I got him every time. You know, my job in that case was not to make the guy who fired the pregnant lady feel better. In fact, I wanted to kick him in the pants, but I didn't. My job is not, you know, the business doesn't care if they feel good or not. The business's end goal here is, you know, how much is this going to cost me for this stupid decision? And the plaintiff on the other side, you know, her counsel didn't really seem to care about emotionally how much money they were going to pay me to go away. You know, that's the transactional business world that Legal Shield makes sense. So I'm going to pull up success stories. And this one, this first one actually, I did not even know about. I'm on an email list. In fact, everybody in the firm's on an email list where we share our success stories for, you know, what we get done for Legal Shield members. And so what I did is I made somebody else, because I was golfing yesterday.
Yay! Nice.
I made somebody else compile the stories, because we keep a database of all the success stories we've ever had. And this first one I did not even know about. I don't know how it slipped past my radar. But Lisa Burns in my office, and if anybody who knows, or any of you know me, you know, I think very highly of Lisa. She's a sweetheart, but she was advising a member, and she takes a lot of family law cases. She was advising a member about a family law situation. Apparently members, I don't know if it was ex-wife or mother of the child, took the 2.5-year-old daughter out of state. Couldn't find her. Our member called upside, no idea where anybody is, what's going on here. So Lisa said, you know, this is what you gave him a laundry list of things to do to make sure that his benefits, or his not benefits, his interests were covered. They found the girl, thankfully. Returned her to the state, and then we weren't done there. Lisa said, this is what you need to do next. You need to make a motion to modify placement. You need to do X, Y, and Z in order to make sure that this doesn't happen again. This is all review one. You didn't hire Lisa to file a motion or anything. Lisa's that good that she can explain how to file these motions pro se with the forms we have in Wisconsin. Ended up happening is the court gave members sole custody, sole physical custody, sole legal custody, and mom is getting just 2 hours of supervised placement each week to make sure that she can't abscond with that kid again. No dollars there. We didn't recover any money for this guy. We got him his daughter back. I don't even know if you could put a dollar value on that. Those, emotional response completely. Money, sure. I mean, I would probably say this would have cost you X dollars an hour, an attorney, it would take an attorney this many hours to do it. But that's inconsequential here. The goal here is to help the member, get back on the right path and help them live their life without this interference. There's another one this is old one. He told me 6 months, I'm cheating again. My favorite story from legal field. We had a member whose child needed a cochlear implant. It's a fancy thing they do where they attach the wires to the brain. I don't even know how they do it. I've been a terrible doctor, but so that you can hear it. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen the video posted on YouTube or Facebook where those kids get them and for the first time they can hear their parent's voice or they hear whatever.
Yeah.
The emotions that come over those kids' faces.
Yeah.
Those are really inspiring. And for myself, my dad is profoundly deaf. He's been deaf all my life. He's been deaf. I think it happened around age 3. I don't even know. But he's had hearing aids his entire life. And so I can understand what a hearing deficit does to somebody. So this daughter, child, they petitioned the insurance company and said, hey, the doctor says she needs 2 implants. 1 on each side. And the insurance company said, you need 1, maybe. And for the one that we're going to do, we're not going to let you use this specific microscope that you need to actually do the job right. So they basically said, yeah, you can fix your car, but you don't get the tools.
Right.
So, it's basically useless. And so our attorney wrote a letter to the insurance company. 1 letter. Insurance company said, you're right. Get them both. And we'll give the instruments too. 1 letter, 1 phone call. How easy is that? Let's see if I can share a clip of mine.
You can talk about my plan, you gave her peace of mind.
I did. That was an interesting one. It was a business plan in Madison. We were actually, was being threatened to be sued by UW Law Professor, my alma mater. Don't know the guy, never met him. I don't like him anymore. Not that I ever did. But she was being basically bullied by this guy who thought he had a junior lawyer badge. He did have a real lawyer badge, but he was just being a jerk. And he didn't really have a strong legal basis to do it. He kept throwing about, I'm a transactional commercial litigator for 30 years, blah, blah, blah. And she called me, and she ran down the situation. I said, you got nothing. I ran over, this is in contract, this is the exposure. And she actually was, they were actually doing everything the right way. Calling me to let them know that they were doing everything the right way. Basically removed the guy's hammer, saying, I'm an attorney, blah, blah, blah. That's great, good for you. It still sucks. You may be an attorney, litigator for 30 years, and I said, you know what, he was a litigator for didn't really save them any money. They basically ended up with a deal that they called in, willing to propose when they first talked to me. I just basically sanity checked it for them, and said, you know what, this is the right thing to do. And, you know, protected their business interest down the road too. I mean, we could have gone nuclear on this, we could have sued the guy, we got a restraining order. This is a business that does repeat work for professors. And so, do you want to be the business that sues your client all the time? Probably not. You know, so we talked about that. Does it make sense to sue your clients? Do you want to be known as the business that sues the people that come to you to do work? And we talked about how much that would cost them, not only in money, but also in business reputation. Here's a good one. Will benefit. We had a member call in.
What?
Yeah, Will Estate Planning, healthcare director, power of attorney. A member called in, his wife was very ill in the hospital and needed an expedited living will within a matter of hours. Normally, we have a 10 business day turnaround. We're really at 7 weekdays, so we're at 5 business days, our normal turnaround. This one needed within a matter of hours. So I have to really put credit to my team because I did nothing on this one. Socorro, the head of our estate planning department, and our legal assistants got everything together, got the worksheets out, sent them to the member via email so that get them done right away, called us. We talked about them as they're filling out the worksheets to make sure they're done right. Got the documents drafted and out the door within hours. So that the wife could fill out the paperwork before her surgery. Was it surgery? Yeah, I think it was surgery. I got another one.
Hold on one second. I just wanna I'm writing them down, I hope you are.
Yes.
Okay, you need to get this stuff written down, because this is what it's all about. Just wanna make sure everyone understands, this is what it is all about. Our clients our members are not paying a dime over their $17 or $26 a month, over their 56 cents to 90 cents, a day, to be able to pick up the phone and call your product, call the law firm. These are law firms, 80-rated law firms. Really, we've got to get out of the clouds and get it down to here so that everyone understands how important it is, because these things happen. This is a life, what Andrew's explaining to everyone, these are life events, and everyone has them in their life, if you're gonna be true to yourself. And when it just, and these things just happen. It's like being in a tragic accident and you're being charged. These are life events for people. I mean, a child who can't hear and will be able to, but then the insurance company jumps in and says, no, we're not paying for it. I mean, these are life events for families. I wanna make sure you're here. You need to be writing these things down and taking them seriously, because this is gonna change your life and your friends and your family's lives.
I got one the other day. Member, used to be Wisconsin member, now Florida member, got transferred up to us by, I think it will be Knight Simmons, North Florida fire firm. And we apparently said, you know, you guys helped me 12 years ago. And I was still super excited about what you guys did. I was like, who remembers what we did 12 years ago, right? So I got curious, I had to look it up. We wrote a letter for him, $225 on a security deposit, 12 years ago. He still remembers that. I probably couldn't remember a letter I wrote 2 years ago. 12 years ago, this guy still remembers it, and because of it, he's still a legal shield member. You know, he made a move, but he's still a legal shield member. I'm going to touch on a traffic story. I have, not over yet, but I have a trial coming up in Dodge County, Beaver Dam. I think that's Dodge County. You went to the right place then. Guy was driving down the road, and oncoming vehicle hit his brights on. So our guy flashes brights, shooting brights on. Car behind him was couldn't see. Cop said, no, I didn't.
Oh.
I got a witness in the car behind him that saw it. I saw the cop turn off his brights after he passed the first car. I think I had the first appearance coming up on that in a week or two. But it's not over yet, but I'm taking it to jury trial. I said, this is the stupidest case I've ever heard. We're taking it to jury trial. And so I sent in, along with my not guilty plea, I sent in $36 for the jury, $6 per juror, so 36 bucks, 6 jurors. And I said, it's a jury trial, we're taking this to trial, you either dismiss it or I'm gonna make you look like an idiot. Prosecutor hasn't gotten back to me yet. My understanding is that the Dodge County DA is mean. And I probably already spent 2.5 hours on this. We didn't even have to see the court, so it hasn't crossed our mind or anything. And I'm gonna destroy the guy if you want to see this. Now, if I lose, I'll even throw it, but I'm gonna win.
Now, so here's my question, like on that, is that, I mean, is that under Title T2?
Yeah.
That's a coverage under T2, where our member has no out-of-pocket expense.
Well, he is paying his jury fee,
Okay.
$36.
Okay, but besides that, there's
That's
no cost of that, and that's the way it would normally be, you're not just doing,
No,
okay.
I'm taking it to trial because it's a great case.
What was the ticket? I mean, is it illegal to flash your lights at someone, or what was the
No,
ticket?
it's not. Well, it is, however, there's an exception to the statute, and there's an unpublished case out of Waukesha County, not to get all legally on you, but the statute says it is illegal to flash your brights at an oncoming vehicle, and, you have to turn it off within so many feet, 100 feet, whatever.
Yep.
Before or behind, except if the oncoming vehicle fails to dim its lights, give us high beams, you can flash your brights at them. Statute says it's black and white.
So bottom line is, you can use it as a reminder to oncoming
Yes.
cars.
And it's right in the statute, I mean, I don't think the cop has no idea what he's doing. I'm gonna destroy him on the street, well, what? Well, he was, and I'm gonna call him out on it.
Quota. Quota. New business quota.
Or they're illegal.
The cops don't mind. That's none.
We sent over the records, but, unfortunately, most of those dash cams only tell us, when the cherries are on, and, speed, sometimes they'll pop off the radar, display, but they usually don't tell me if the headlights on or the IDs are on,
But you'll see the flashing lights in the dash cam, the oncoming lights when you give the signal in the dash cam.
I probably see the lights dim when he passes that first car.
So we'll see, I've got some creative arguments that I'm not gonna use, I was gonna threaten to, file a petition with the court to have the cop arrested for, what's the word? Where you hold somebody without their bail, false imprisonment. Because he didn't have a legal basis to pull the guy over, he was wrong, and, I wanted to go nuclear, I could probably file that. I might lose, I might win.
I like that
It's not,
term.
our fight over
Is there a statute against having the lights on when you're reading oncoming traffic?
Yeah, same statute. I don't remember it is off the top of my head, but it's like 50 feet or 100, it must be 150 feet. 150 feet of oncoming traffic and also coming up from Island, somewhere in 346.
But I just want to make, rather than this all, and it's all interesting, the point here is that, and see, those of you who took my group school, I talked to you about how we paint a picture.
Yes.
Some of you people like to get into the detail. You don't have to get into the detail.
Right.
You need to talk about the, this happened, and we're even going to court on it, and this is the type of law firm that you have that in this state that's gonna protect you. That's the key thing, okay? Just like I find when I teach group school and I start talking about how to find prospects, companies, there's those of you who love to get on the computer and spend hours downloading all these names. That's not what it's about. It's about talking to your neighbors, talking to your friends, the business owners, because this is what it's all about. Okay? These are the stories that make differences in people's lives. And all of us, we need to have an attorney on retainer, and now you have the opportunity to have that. And don't keep it a secret, okay?
Some of us may not have heard the story, though, how you as the firm would like our members to act if they are picked up for things like OWI. It's not a covered benefit, but should they be calling the firm? You wanna-
Yeah, we have the 24/7 coverage, which is absolutely covered. If you read the contract, it says it excludes alcohol and drugs. We take more of those calls than any other 24/7 line, but they put them through. So they definitely should call us, especially if they have a question about, the main question was about whether or not they should take the chemical test at the station. The answer is unequivocally yes. But yes, they should be calling us about that. I got another Lisa Byrne story, because I'm partial to Lisa. Because her office is right next to me, and I can hear it basically. And she's got the patience of a saint sometimes, I don't know how she does it. But we have a member, Vietnam veteran, fallen in, he had cancer. And his house, he has cancer, so he hasn't had the time that he needs to spend fixing his house and making sure that he, speaking Spanish. Well, somebody complained about it, called the city. The city said, your building is terrible, we're gonna raise it, tear it down. We got obviously upset, we got cancer, veteran, we got bills piling up, medical stuff, we got time that he doesn't need, we can't do things. I remember the beginning of this conversation, because I was sitting in my office, and what the heck is going on over there? And Lisa, and the guy called in, he was pretty hysterical. Lisa calmed him down, said, you know what, let's attack this, I understand that you've got issues going on, let's attack this, let's step back up, and make sure that we can get this, resolved for you. So Lisa ended up calling the building inspector herself, and explained what was going on with this guy. Building inspector said, you know what, we'll work with you, based upon what you're telling me, the way you're presenting it, we'll work with you. So the city building inspector sent a team out to the house, and they all came up with a plan that members can accomplish in order to stop the house from being raised. So instead of the city working against this guy, we got the city helping him out to make sure that he gets to stay in his home, that he doesn't lose his house during this time. Doesn't probably lose the money, but, when you have somebody calling in crying and hysterical because their house is going to be torn down, you let them know, you know what? You're gonna get to keep your American dream, you're gonna get to keep your house, and we're gonna help you do it. I think that's powerful, so. That's about all I got for success stories.
That's great. Approximately how many wills do you do a month?
Oh, wills, yes. It's about, it varies, at the beginning of the year, we have a lot more than we do, right about now. It's a New Year's resolution thing, I swear. People say, I'm gonna get my will done, and so we get a whole bunch of them right away, so in January and February. But I'd say, average, is about 120.
121 a month. In all three states combined, not just in Wisconsin.
All three states.
Alan,
Yes.
time for one more quick
Okay.
law firm success story, and because most everybody in the room is here, is gonna be here for the rest of group school, it's a group school story. Law firm, this is a member, had the membership for years, she and her husband keep putting, getting their wills done keep putting it off, just like most of us do. And finally, their kids are at an age where they're old enough so that mom and dad can travel and leave the kids at home. And they got real concerned about, we're gonna be traveling together and the kids are gonna be home, we need to get our wills done. And the same thing, like the story that Andrew told about getting it done in less than a week. they did it so that the husband and wife could travel and have their will completed, but group school. I heard that story from the benefits administrator of one of my client accounts. The member came in and told the benefits person about how happy she was with the membership, one. Two, I heard that story from the benefits administrator when she and I were having breakfast coffee with Dan Wright from the law firm. So one of the attorneys is sitting down with a client company, and she's telling me the story, she's also telling the law firm this story. It's awesome, that's the caliber of law firm we got.
Do you want me to sit up here or want me to sit down?
So, and the key thing, I mean, how many people, and let's be real, because we're here to be real, how many people have not called the law firm? So every one of you everyone in this room, except for one person, are you a guest, have called the law firm and are using the plan. Because that is really important, the things that you, I mean, you know, I sometimes tell new people, you know, even if you don't have something, call the law firm. I know we're not supposed to do that, but, you know, because you need to see how quickly they call back, all of those type of things. So this is really, really key. Okay, I mean, this is great, exactly, you know, what I want to be talking about today, because, again, I want to go back to, and, you know, you're going to be tired of hearing it by the time I'm done, but I promise it'll be in your brain, that our world revolves around attorneys. So this is lesson number 1. Attorneys write the law. You need to be writing this down, y'all. Attorneys write the law. Attorneys interpret the law. They prosecute the law, and they defend the law. Now, I don't know what that's all about, but that is how it is. And you know, whether, and the things that are starting to really work in my mind now is that, and those of you who are at group school, I talked a little bit about this. For example, the NSA, the Congress, that most of them are attorneys, or they have attorneys on their staff. They're telling us, and their attorneys are telling them, that you don't have to worry because no one's bugging your phones, and no one's into your email. But the problem is, those attorneys for the Congress people and those who are, when they wrote the law, wrote themselves that NSA couldn't bug them. So if they're taking care of them, my point is that attorneys, in my opinion, control this country because of their knowledge. And by the way, my daughter is a first-year law student at St. Louis University. So she comes home and talks to me about, you know, all of these things. And so I'm starting with this premise, and I wanted my Super Saturday for you and with you is to take you through, and I'm continuing to build this chronologically of why it's important for everyone to have it. And if you don't do this, somebody else is going to get to that person. So, and it's not, and I'm not talking anything about sales. This is not about sales to me. This is about the need in the marketplace for, because remember when I started the briefing, is that, and before I started this, I want to go back to, this is something we used to say all the time before, we don't say it anymore, that you're almost 3 times more likely to be in the hospital, to be in court than to be in the hospital, and hardly anyone, in this state, it's probably, what, 2% of the population have a legal plan? Less than that, 1%. I mean, y'all can do well in that situation when 99% of the people you're in front of don't have a plan, okay? Judges are attorneys. They play golf together, they play tennis together. What I say when I go to do CDLP is I tell truck drivers all the time is that we don't go into traffic court. We go in the back room to work the best arrangement out for you. It's all done in the back room. Why? Because they play golf together. He was out yesterday playing golf, probably with another attorney or maybe with a judge. And most cases are settled in pre-trial. Now, Greg May, who's Missouri's managing partner for Legal Shield at DuVale Judge, tells me that 90 to 95, and he's a litigator, that 90 to 95% of all cases are settled in pre-trial, okay? It's another reason to have an attorney. And that most of us were not raised to call an attorney unless we were in trouble.
Right.
This is the biggest issue that everyone in the room who's a sales associate for Legal Shield has, is re-educating the public about having an attorney on retainer. Okay, because most people think of having an attorney when they're in trouble, not before preventatively to keep you out of trouble. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay, this is Dwayne, this is James Dwayne.
This is my favorite show, that's what this is.
You mean silent for your own protection.
The Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution provides, no person shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself. I'm not ashamed to say I'm proud of the Fifth Amendment, and I'm proud to admit on camera and on the internet that I will never talk to any police officer under any circumstances. Contrary to what you laymen instinctively and naturally suppose, it cannot help. There is no way it can help you. Plenty of folks think that it can, and they're always wrong. You cannot talk your way out of getting arrested. Officer Brooke, you've interviewed thousands of criminal suspects. Have you ever, how many times in your experience, have you approached someone, asked if you could ask them some questions because prior to the interview you had some evidence pointing to his possible guilt? And because of the extraordinary persuasiveness and eloquence with which he articulated his innocence, you said, oh, sorry, never mind. Bad call, my bad, I won't. And he talked you out of arresting him. Never. Never. It never happens. I've often asked other criminal defense attorneys, in all of your experience, have you ever once had a case where you looked back in hindsight and said, thank God my client talked to the police? They laugh at me. They laugh at me. They say, you've got to be kidding me. You cannot help you. You can't talk your way out of getting arrested. And contrary to what you might suppose if you never studied the rules of evidence, what you tell the police, even if it's exculpatory, cannot be used to help you in trial. Because it's what we call hearsay. Under the rules of evidence, specifically Rule 801D2A, if you want to look it up, everything you tell the police, as the saying goes, can and will be used against you, but it cannot be used for you. From time to time, I've known attorneys who tried to call to the stand a police officer and say, officer, would you tell the jury what my client told you because what my client told him is actually good for my case? If you tried that at trial, the prosecutor will object to it as hearsay, and the judge will agree. The police will not be allowed, in your request, to tell the jury what your client told him, no matter how good it may be for your case. It cannot help. And that ought to be good enough reason. That ought to be reason enough to keep your mouth shut. There's no man on earth, there's no woman in this country who can honestly say with complete confidence, I know I've never violated any provision of the Internal Revenue Code. The complexity of modern federal criminal law, codified in several thousand sections of the United States Code, and the virtually infinite variety of factual circumstances that might trigger an investigation into a possible violation of the law, make it difficult for anyone to know in advance just when a particular set of statements might later appear to a prosecutor to be relevant to some investigation. One expert on criminal law recently noted that estimates of the current size of the body of federal criminal law vary, although it has been reported that the Congressional Research Service can no longer even count the current number of federal crimes. That's right, even the federal government has lost count. These laws are scattered over all 50 pages of the U.S. Code, encompassing roughly 27,000 pages. Worse yet, these statutes often incorporate by reference the provisions of administrative regulations. Estimates of how many such regulations exist are even less well settled, although the ABA thinks there may be nearly 10,000. Here's one of those 10,000 federal criminal statutes on the book that you probably never heard about. It's called the Lacey Act. 16 U.S.C. section 3370 says it's a federal offense for any person to import, export, transport, sell, receive, acquire, or purchase any fish or wildlife or plant taken, possessed, transported, or sold in the violation of any law, treaty, or regulation of the United States or any Indian tribal law or any state or any foreign law. People have been convicted in federal court for violating this statute because they brought back a bony fish from Honduras, not knowing that Honduran law, not American, but Honduran law, forbade the possession of the bony fish. People have been convicted under this law because they were found in possession of what's called a short lobster. A lobster that's under a certain size. Some states forbid you from possessing a lobster if he's under a certain length. It doesn't matter if he's dead or alive. It doesn't matter if you killed him or if he died of natural causes. It doesn't even matter if you're acting in self-defense. Did you know that? There could be a federal offense to be in possession of a lobster. Admit it. Raise your hand if you do not know that. There's the problem. That's only one of 10,000 different ways. You know, the government gets pretty upset when people like me instruct the client, people like me and Justice Jackson. Don't talk to the police, don't answer any questions. But you know, they can't have it both ways. You people, you've got 10,000 different ways of convicting us. Good for you, but you know, with the bitter comes to the sweet, with the good comes to the bad. That's 10,000 different ways my client might unknowingly implicate himself in some sort of criminal transaction. A sane, competent lawyer in his right mind will always tell every client under all circumstances, I don't care if you're innocent. I don't care if it's the truth. If it's the truth, great. We'll tell the jury all about it. There'll be time enough to put our cards on the table. But before we get there, I haven't seen yet what the police got. They may have mistaken and confused witnesses who will contradict even the truthful stuff that you say. We have no way to know, no way to predict whether the information that you give them, even if truthful and reliable, will end up unwittingly dispelling our demise. So keep your mouth shut. Don't answer any questions. Let's take the fifth. You'll be glad that you did. God bless America. God bless the Bill of Rights.
Actually, my daughter came home from law school 2 weeks ago, and she said the Federalist Society just had James Duane at her law school to speak to him. So I had to, and she was so excited about what he had to say. I mean, she's just so excited to be in law school. It's because she really watches also Law and Order. I mean, she is just all in. She's just totally all in on all this.
That Lacey Act is how they got this in the
We have a
cars,
book.
because they were importing trees from Brazil,
And he didn't know.
and they raided 15 cars, shut down the ground.
So, yes, sir.
What was that professor's law, his website? His name went real fast at the end.
I don't, if you go to Google or to YouTube and put in James Duane, D-U-A-N-E, and then I put in Fifth Amendment, all this will pop up.
Thank you.
Or you can go to, so over the Supreme, yes.
Does Andrew agree that if you ever get detained, don't say a word, or?
There's no such thing as a good statement.
And don't forget, see, you've got the legal shield. I mean, this is, off of YouTube, this is, this was before the legal shield, and he may not even know about the legal shield. You all have that. And it's like when, I think I told group school yesterday, I have a freshman in college, and when Peter, we had loaded the car, my wife Amy, she was downstairs, we're getting ready to leave, and I went into Peter's room. The last thing I said to him before we got in the car, I said, because you all know I've told you that I think kids are stupid. And they just do stupid things, or they find themselves in stupid situations, and so do we. And so I told him, I said, if you find yourself at a party or you're walking around and somebody with your who you're with decides to start duking it out with someone, you need to immediately step aside, take out your cell phone, and call the 800 number, which is 877-825-3797, and you're going to get an attorney on the phone. Now, you know, I know those attorneys, and he's going to a Missouri school, but regardless, and if he was in Arkansas fishing with some buddies, we're gonna get him an Arkansas law firm 24/7 to represent him. And that was really the last thing I said as we walked out of the house, because I just wanted to remind him, I mean, Oprah Winfrey and Donald Trump do not have access 24/7 to a state-specific attorney who can help them. They may have one in New York or in Illinois or wherever they live, but state-specific attorneys, this is the only company that offers that. And you can get that for as little as 56 cents a day. Okay? So, over the Supreme Court, it says equal justice under law. Unfortunately, nowhere inside does it say how you're gonna pay for it. And you can really, what we used to say when I first started 14 years ago, you can look in your wallet and see how much justice you can afford. Because the toughest thing probably for Andrew when he has a client that's not a Legal Shield client is it's really, if you're being sued or you wanna sue someone, it's how, I call it how much legs do you have? I mean, how much money do you have to stay in that case? Because it all comes down to how attorneys are billing and how long they want to stay and fight it, and it all comes down to the color of justice's green in this country. Lesson number 4. The average U.S. worker has to work 2 days to pay for 1 hour of an average attorney's time. This was in Parade magazine a few years ago, and I just saw on CNN this morning that the average worker in this country makes about $35,000 a year. So the average worker in this country has to work 2 days to pay for 1 hour of an average attorney's time. If you want an average attorney, I mean, we have AV rated attorneys, so based on that, they're above average. This is Derek Bach, who's the former dean of the Harvard Business School. I call this lesson 5 and 6. Again, I'm just trying to get your mind wrapped around what you all have. He said there's far too much law for those that can afford it and far too little for those that can't. But this is an unbelievable statement, and this is so true today. It's better to be rich and guilty in this country than poor and innocent. But again, what Legal Shield does, it levels the playing field. It levels the playing field. It gives all of us access to the justice system. So as Andrew talked about, you have an officer who's trying to push themselves around, or you have an insurance company that's treating you or someone in your family. I mean, I have a son who has a learning disability. Almost every time the insurance company would throw out our EOBs on helping Peter with his learning disability, we get one letter sent every single time from the law firm, and all of a sudden they're paying that bill. I mean, that's ridiculous. It really is, but it's just the way it is today. This is I learned this from our supervising attorney from the Vail Judge in St. Louis, who came to talk recently at one of our events. Attorneys typically invoice on 6-minute increments. Secretaries and their secretaries and paralegals are billing in 6-minute increments. But I love this one. When an attorney thinks about your case, they're billing in 6-minute increments, but not at Legal Shield. That's why I asked Andrew the question about the traffic situation that he's asking for a jury trial. And many law firms do cost-benefit studies to determine if they even want you as a client. Okay, let's talk a little bit on the business side for a few, couple of minutes. Most of what, I mean, everything I'm talking is business and personal, but let's zero in on the business side. We did a study, Legal Shield, and it's called the Legal Needs of the Legal Needs of Small Business Survey. You can get it on the tab that drops down on small business. Now, that's the study. What I like is if you Google this, if you go and Google this, you can get it from PR News Magazine, which to me is a stronger third-party way if you're gonna call on small businesses and talk to them. That's what I've used. And this is what the survey found. Nearly 60% of all small business owners experienced significant legal problems in the last 2 years. 54% said they didn't seek services of an attorney to help them deal with those issues. Why? 40% said of cost concerns. 57% said they thought they could do it themselves. In St. Louis, at a Duval judge, in 2011, they collected for our members $194,000 for our members in the state of Missouri. And I'm telling you this because we're starting to see some transition because of all the small business we're starting to write. In 2012, that number went from $194,000 up to $240 some odd thousand. So far this year, Duval Judge has collected over $600,000. And they went back to research why that is, and it's because of the small business, more small business owners are having trouble collecting money from other businesses, and that our service has been able to help those small business owners. Okay? So here's someone who's trying to do it themselves versus calling an attorney. And I guarantee you, if this went on, that they didn't know anything about our service. And the reason is that we haven't talked to them. And I know, how many insurance people, personal lines and just insurance people, benefits do we have in the room? I mean, even if you just talk to your clients, the clients you have, and you need to get this survey and just show it to him. If you're a P&C person and you talk to those clients about our plan, the fact that, I mean, how much, the 49, we have a plan that's $49, and then we have another plan that's $75, it's $250 a day. I mean, for crying out loud, for $2.50 a day to be able to pick up the phone and call the law firm and get them to help collect these, in Missouri, that's $600,000, over $600 that they've collected, was all done in phone consultations and letters written on their behalf. They didn't have to go to court. That business owner did not have another out-of-pocket expense. So you insurance people, I mean, you've got those clients. All you have to do is talk to them and make them aware of the product. They may or may not be interested, but we need to make them aware. And those of you who aren't insurance people, I mean, start walking into the business. You'll get those insurance people's attention. And once you open one of those accounts, then you can find out who their insurance person is and work backwards to bring them in to your legal brokerage business. okay? But this stuff is, I mean, it is out there. And I just wanna make sure that when you leave here, that you really go back and read through your notes and see what you have. All it is just walking in the door with this survey and clip your business card on, and then find out who the business owner is, and then just follow up with that person.
Hey, Alan, can I make a point there?
Sure.
Not only, is there more focus with selling a business plan, but corporate has dictated to us how we service these small business memberships recently. And we have a dedicated team, so Lisa Burns, I love her to death. She doesn't handle small business intakes. You know, she's better used doing the family law stuff that's more empathetic. So we have a team of attorneys that are the only ones that can call on these small business intakes. So you're not just getting, an attorney who does more family law and just happens to do small business intake off the screen. Now you get someone like myself. We have corporate clients. One of my biggest clients is conglomeration of cooperatives, 21 states across the country, 6,000 employees. So I deal with business issues. You're getting someone like me to call back those small businesses.
See, so our company is evolving. I mean, corporately, we're working closer with the provider law firms, but what I'm seeing, and it's not just in Wisconsin, it's in Missouri, it's in Illinois, it's why I'm going back to doing a Super Saturday and want to travel and talk to everyone about an advanced product training, to get everyone back focused on the membership, because we've gotten away from it. Even before the company was sold, Harlan Stonecipher, who I love dearly, he has changed my life. But it was recruited, don't get it out of order. Listen, y'all, it is all about the membership. It is about helping people. Yes. And when you help people, your compensation will come. It's about understanding this product and digging in and really understanding and painting a picture and just talking to people. We all have a tremendous, tremendous opportunity out here with what we have. So this is the business piece. Now you all have seen this. This is the other piece. This is the family piece. And this was in the presentation, both in group school and in the business. But this is strong. This is important that 93% of respondents believe lawyers charge too much. And that the main reason, that's the mindset of why they only call attorneys when they're in trouble, and rather than calling them preventatively, like when you're changing the oil in your vehicle, or the filters in your air conditioner, or getting a checkup once a year, or going to the dentist twice a year. When you do those kind of things, then you don't have the big problems later. Preventative legal services. Again, I know I sound like a broken record, I'm sorry, but before Legal Shield, you couldn't have preventive legal services unless you were an extremely wealthy person. Now you get AV-rated law firms that you can call and get your answers, or your questions answered. So 76% of people surveyed said they were hesitant to call an attorney. Here, 60%, 57 said they were hesitant, 40% didn't because of money. 9 out of 10 said if the cost was more affordable. It is more affordable. So you've got to get out and start talking to more people about how it is. And again, you don't have to buy, I don't know how much this is in the back office, but you can go in your back office and download it now and just print it out, okay? I love facts, and here are some facts for you all to fill your brains. 70% of all American families do not, I believe this is love, do not have a will. 90% don't have a will or haven't updated it in a timely manner. 17,000 people will be in a wreck today. most of them are gonna have to find an attorney. Their choice is $150, $175, $200 an hour, or 87 cents a day. 500,000 people this month will be injured on the job. They're all gonna be looking for an attorney. By the way, if they're injured on a job, and they have our plan, if it's done on the benefit side, there's an amendment in there that they won't be able to use the plan against their business. But so sell your next door neighbors, because if they're injured on a job, then they can use the plan. 3 out of 4 teenagers that get a license in their first 90 days will be in a wreck or will get a ticket. It's not up for debate, 75%. 56% of the population will go through a divorce. They'll all need an attorney, and with our plan, it's a 25% discount. 40,000 people will have their identity stolen today. And finally, and this is the way you sell the identity theft product, 80% of all credit reports have incorrect entries in them. And again, I think it's probably my case, but on the back office, on the online forms, you can download a credit letter, and then you can type in the information, fax it over to the law firm, they'll review it, and then a credit dispute letter. And then if that doesn't take care of it, which it may not, then the law firm will write a letter for you with all their names on the letterhead, and I guarantee you they'll get it done for you. This is big. And the reason this is big, y'all, is that what's on your credit report affects how much you pay for vehicle insurance and homeowners. So if there's erroneous information on there, you're gonna be able to save that client. You may be able to save that client of yours a lot of money and help to lower their premiums by them having our identity theft product and having access to a law firm. So we live in a do-it-yourself society. Access to an attorney is becoming a necessity. And I happen to believe, and I can't remember if I put this on this slide, so I'm going to say it to you. I believe that to be a responsible adult in this society, I believe this in the bottom of my heart, that you need to have an attorney on retainer today to be a responsible adult. We live in a do-it-yourself society. Everything is changing in this country, and attorneys write the law, they defend the law, they prosecute the law, and you need to have one of them. You've got to have one of those in your back pocket. And we have that, those of you who have our legal plan. This is another, by the way, and if you all want this, you can send me an email, or I can send it to Joe, and then you can send him an email. This is a 1-page of that booklet, The Legal Needs of American Families. It was in the group Scoop, and I got it from the company. This is the 1-page bullet point. This is between you and I, and quietly, and I'll give it to Joe so he can have them at the meetings or whatever you want to do. But this, when I go to call on a business owner, I like a 1-page sheet with bullet points. So do you all have this? Have you seen this? So this is that booklet that's in your, that you get at group school, that's 3 or 4 pages. It's all brought down to 1 page with bullet points. It's a good piece. And so what it says up here, it shows all the top entries, and if you have this in your little portfolio, when you go to call on people, you can just show this, or you can copy it in black and white, okay? So, let me now make the transition into the product and to the company, and let's see if I can get more time. This is the transition that we've made. Now that I've gone through and we're talking about the mindset of why everyone needs to be talking to, and not be afraid. I want you to be proud of what you have. Because I'm concerned that some of you, because in the very beginning you started to talk to friends and family, it knocked you off your game. I'm trying to get you back on your game, okay? So this is the transition from prepaid legal to Legal Shield. Number one, we are a 42-year-old company that is time tested. I mean, we have lasted. The reason why Mid-Oceans down here, I'll get to, bought us is that they really saw that prepaid legal was the last insurance product that had not, and that they wanted to create a company like prepaid legal. So what they did was, they did the research and they found that it would cost $1 billion and take 8 to 10 years to duplicate what we have. And that's why they stroked a check for $650 million to buy us. We are the leader in the industry, #1, hands down. Nobody touches our business model and the fact that we have a network of attorneys that are coast to coast, that are AV-rated law firms. We have our founder, Harlan Stonecipher, that's an old slide, so he's retired now, I'm sorry, okay? We were publicly traded. When I joined, we were on the American Stock Exchange. Actually, the month I joined, May of 1999, we went to the New York Stock Exchange. And again, now we've been brought back private. All we do are legal plans for families and businesses and employee benefits and also identity theft. And we have endorsements from former attorney generals, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and the National Black Chamber of Commerce. Actually, Rip Mason just spoke at the National Black Chamber. And again, we were purchased recently, 2 years ago, by Mid-Oceans, and it's all about the business model. So here's a video. I love this video. It's the first one. If those were 2 years ago, if you were at convention, you saw this video. This is my favorite video because it really tells the story about the transition from prepaid legal to Legal Shield.
In America, every generation is born with a dream, with the notion of equality, with the freedom to make certain choices, to exercise certain rights, the right to life, the right to liberty, the right to pursue happiness. But it wasn't until Harlan Stonecipher was blindsided by a motor vehicle and hospitalized in 1969 that he realized it was money, not rights, that gave you access to our legal system. And after depleting his life savings, defending himself against something he didn't do, Harlan Stonecipher was determined to make legal protection accessible to everyone, everywhere, no matter how traumatic or trivial the situation, so that no one would ever be blindsided again. And that's exactly what he did. It was the early 90s when an idea to create a proprietary network truly changed the game. It meant that instead of hundreds of good attorneys serving hundreds of customers, now there was one dedicated law firm serving thousands of members. And instead of attorneys waiting for work to get paid, they were prepaid. The business model for legal products was turned on its head, and a whole new scope and cents a day. How good does it feel to be able to offer that kind of service to your friends, your neighbors, your community? Our product is something to be proud of. It has stood the test of time. 40 years and 20 million times. Our lawyers have been there to protect their clients, helping our 4 million users live their lives on their own terms. Our members fear nothing. The protection of our product is total. A shield that watches over them and their loved ones, protecting their rights, their freedom, and their future. Everyone, everywhere, deserves to wake up with peace of mind, feeling protected every day, every night, now and forever, by our new company, Legal Shield. Total access, total freedom.
Our members fear nothing. I love that. I mean, if that presentation doesn't make you feel good and proud of what you do, I don't know what will. By the way, you can go to YouTube. This is called Reveal, R-E, I think it's V-E-A-L, and it's Legal Shield. It's on, it's there, and it's really incredible. I use this in some of my presentations with brokers when I'm taking them from who we were, that they're thinking about who we were to who we are today. Okay, so let's kind of go into the product. I want to do some training on the product. The first thing I want to say to everyone is that you only need to know 3 areas to sell 90% of the people you're going to come into contact with. T1, Title I, Benefit 1, that's preventative. T2, which is traffic, and the 24/7 emergency coverage. If you know those, and let me just tell you, I should have said it earlier. When I used to do APTs, I called them AA meetings for DVD and video dependent people. When you come into the business, you're so DVD and video dependent, and you know, I say this to Sabul all the time, we kind of go back and forth, he said, Alan, these DVDs are important, and I said, Dave, you're right, but when I started it was a cassette. And he said, but once we became a senior associate, you told me to get rid of that I needed to know the product. And so I listened to his cassette until I memorized what he said, and then I started to put it in my own words, okay? But you all, I have never met anyone who has made it and stays with the company that doesn't make that transition from the video and the DVD to being able to, and in my opinion, and I'll deny it even with an attorney in the room, if it ever comes up, but I believe that what we're doing with the videos are making you way too dependent on the videos. You've got to get this in here, okay? And that's what I'm trying to do with everyone today. But I'm going to take you through the product. 90% of, in fact, when I was doing group schools before we have the new group school, and in the book you'd have to come, those of you who've taken group school before, you would do the enrollment in front of the room. Well, with me, what I did with all my classes is that you also had to do preventative and you had to do traffic. So group school wasn't just that one piece you had to memorize, you needed to know what made up preventative and what made up traffic. So I'm going to take you all through it, and I'm going to teach you how I do it. And again, I've sold 726 memberships to date. Okay? I've sold 7,100 memberships, and I've been a 6-figure ring earner consistently for 6 years. So, as, I don't know who it was, said, if you're doing it, it ain't bragging. Okay, so, we have 2 legal plans. I'm gonna really concentrate on the basic, the $17 plan. I want you to start thinking about this legal plan as a life event legal plan. Not just as a, not just as a standard plan. I want you to think of this as a life event legal plan, because it is. It's, life happens, as I said earlier. And you all know that the only difference between these 2 plans, and any new people we have in here, the only difference between the 2 plans is the pre-trial hours. Remember, I know you're sick of hearing it from me, but I'm saying it again. 90% of the phone calls into the law firm, 94, almost 95, the client pays no additional cost than that $17. And I also want to remind you to bring it down incrementally to 57 cents. That's what that $17 is 57 cents a day. That's less than a can of soda. That'll quench their thirst. This protects their family and their livelihood. Now, and the reason we can do that is that 1/3 of the premium, that $17, goes to the law firm whether you use it or not, so that when you need it, you got it, okay? So that's how this business model works. The law firms are paid monthly based on how many members are in the state. And that's a beautiful thing, because we have the law firms working hard to keep the members. They don't get paid advance commissions. They get paid monthly based on how many members stay on the books. So they're working for you, you're working for them, and we're all working for the company. So that's how the business model works. That's why we can give our members this kind of coverage. Okay, what is Legal Shield and how do you introduce it? This is really important, and again, we used to do this in group school. I still go back. I want you to write this down, because this is what Legal Shield is. Legal Shield is to attorney fees what major medical is to doctor and hospital bills. In other words, and you gotta memorize this, y'all. In other words, many of the legal services you need most are prepaid with a plan. This is where that 90% goes in. Now that Mid-Oceans has done the surveys, most means 90%. In other words, many of the legal services you need most are prepaid with your benefit, with your membership. Legal Shield is to attorney fees, what major medical is to hospital and doctor fees. In other words, many of the services that you need most are prepaid or paid in advance with your membership, with your benefit. That is what we do. And you gotta memorize it, because there's not one of you in the room when you're brand new that somebody asks you what you do or what the company does and you fumble with it. I mean, it happened to me. It had to happen to you. I mean, and even after I was with the company for a couple of years, I got caught off guard at a party. You know, this is what we do. This is the cleanest, easy. People understand what major medical is or what hospitalization is. So you take the doctors out and you put the attorneys in. But the most important at the bottom. So in other words, many of the legal services you need most are prepaid with your membership. Now, the next thing is, who's covered? Okay? Because see, if you don't draw this out and explain it to people, it sounds too good to be true. That's where you're going to lose them, because it doesn't sound like it can be. So they got to understand that a third of the premium goes to the law firm, then it's coast to coast. It's one price, covers the whole family. And the truth of the matter is, you could say this is a month-to-month contract. You can drop it at any time. We don't want you to, but we feel so strongly about what this product will do for you. We give you an escape clause, okay? But who's covered? You as the member. You all have got to know this stuff. It's you as the member, your spouse or significant other. I guarantee I could pick someone, if I ask who's been here for 5 to 7 years, you put your hand up, I'll bet you some of you can't say this. But we have got to learn this. This is what we do. You as the member, your spouse or significant other, any never married dependent children up to the age of 21, never married, living in the house. If you have full-time college students up to the age of 23, never married no matter where they go to school. This is because it's a coast-to-coast product. Any kids, if you're the legal guardian for a child up to the age of 18, they're covered. And any physically or mentally challenged child living in the home, that was freaky fast. So, that's right. So we're covered. And this is beautiful, what Steve just said. Advertising works. Harlan Stonesifer decided we weren't going to advertise. And now we're starting to advertise a little bit. And people say to me all the time, I wish we were advertising more. And I say to people on my team, be careful what you wish for. We get paid 48% commission when you get to director level, or 16% to start. I guarantee you, if advertising sold the product, we wouldn't be getting paid that percentage. Okay? So that's what it's all about. I'm trying to be real. Okay? So everyone needs to understand, you gotta go home, you gotta memorize this stuff. I'll tell you what I'm doing with my team now. I got them recording on their cell phone. And I do it with myself. I've been recording my enrollment presentation so I can play it back. Make sure I get rid of the uhs and some other stuff that I put in there. But this is the best way. That way you're going through, what is it? Who's covered? And you listen to yourself say it. I mean, you've got these mechanical devices. You got to start using this stuff to your advantage. Because if you start doing that, then I know you're going to be serious about what I'm talking to you about today. Okay, so preventive legal services. I'm going to start taking you through this. Please write this down. I said this to my group school, I'm going to say this to y'all. Y'all look at me for a second, this is really important. This business is changing. You have got to become a membership selling person. We are about to open up some big national accounts. And I can tell you what the company looks for is they look at the numbers. And people who are writing memberships are being called on to write the business. It's not like when Harlan owned the company. Things are changing. You need to become a membership writing machine. I'm serious. I'm getting the calls. And you all can get the calls too, but you've got to be writing sales. And it's not that hard. If you go to your back office and you look and you go down the left-hand side where it says group sales, and you click on that, the top 50, I think it's like 250, let's say, because it's easier for me to do this way. It's about 250, the spread from the top 5, it's 700, and it drops down to 200 and, let's say, 50, 240 is number 50. okay? So divide that by, somebody who's real good in math, can you divide that by like 8? Divide that by 8 or 9, how much is that a month? It's like 20 a month, or 25, it's no more than 30 a month. Is that right? No more than 30 a month. And you could be in the top producers in the state, and you could be the person that, and Rip's deciding this stuff. Because he needs membership sales, let me tell you. He needs membership sales. But Rip needs membership sales, because I'm being real honest with you. Because I guarantee, and I don't know anything, but I know what I would do if I could stroke the check for $650 million. I want sales, baby. And I'm gonna wanna find out where I'm getting them from. Because I'm on a team now, an elite team, where I have to send in projections because I've agreed to be on an elite team. So I'm telling y'all, things are changing. Now, you don't have to do anything I'm talking to you about. But if you want a piece of the action, this is what you need to be doing, okay? I mean, we're having a real conversation here. This is what's going on. Okay, so here's how I sell this. And I learned some of this from Melissa Wilder. I'm on the group call, I listen to all this. You gotta educate your client and teach them how to use the product as you present it. So you go to sit in their home, you go to talk to a business owner. We need to educate people on the product. So what I learned from Melissa 2 or 3 years ago, I've been doing this. I'm gonna say, and I say to my clients, and when I do an enrollment, here's how you use the plan. Preventive legal services. What your company has worked out, or what our company's worked out for you, is you'll pay another dime for all the things that you see. So if you have an issue, you're gonna call and say, I need advice. And I go like this.